Hi, this is Ümmü Gülsüm Zor, and this is the second part of the financial literacy course. In this part, we will be discussing about the basic economics first, because to start with financial management, first we need to understand the dynamics of the economic environment that we've been surrounded by. Then we will talk about the fundamentals of financial management. However, because financial management is usually considered for companies or professional organizations, then we are going to apply it to the individual setting. And then we will talk about individual financial management as well. In the textbook, economics is usually defined as a study of human beings coordinating their needs and desires given the decision-making mechanism, social customs, and political realities of the society that they live in. So simply, if you realize, it is not only about the money, but it is a kind of a broader concept covering all of the dynamics that we surrounded by. As societies do not have enough productive resources to satisfy all of the people's needs, economics is dealing with this problem. So simply, it is also called a kind of an art trying to satisfy unlimited needs with scarce resources. If you don't even know anything about the formal definition in the textbook about economics, think about the lifespan of human beings. Over time, the lifespan of humans is increasing. However, we have the same space and the same amount of resources in the world. Therefore, the number of people is increasing. However, we need to still satisfy our needs with the same amount of resources. Therefore, economics consists of production, distribution, consumption, trade, and chain of these scarce resources. If you look at the steps, production, distribution, consumption, trade, or change, it is the entire journey of a product. So first, from the soul, we have the product. Let's assume that it's an agricultural product. Then we can consume it ourselves, or we can change it with something else. Then in that case, we need a distribution channel. Then we will talk about consumption as well, because as a trade, we will get something else and we are going to be consuming them. So basic economics is covering all of these steps and all of the dynamics that occurred during this journey. When we talk about financial management, simply in here, what we mean by financial management is that because we are dealing with scarce resources, we need to make sure that we secure our financial position to afford the resources that we will need in the future. Financial management refers to planning, organizing, directing, and controlling of financial undertakings in an organization. Usually this concept is valid for companies or organizations, not individuals. However, because of the concept of this course, we will be focusing on financial management of individuals. Well, what we aim in financial management is that we try to maximize the profit, maintain the liquid assets, so the cash or cash equivalent, and we try to maximize the wealth. These objectives are still valid for companies as well as people. So at the company level, of course, we are talking about a profit-seeking organization, we are looking for profit maximization. It is the same in the individual setting as well. So as people, as a person, we also look for improving our financial position via maximizing the profit or increasing the income that we have currently. Of course, we also need to maintain some cash as well, let's say, because, if you need some cash for tomorrow. If you have your own money, it costs less to you. However, if you're going to apply for a bank loan, then it is going to be costlier to you than it is for somebody else because of the urgent need. The scope of financial management is usually about deciding that how we will be estimating the financial requirement. So we need to estimate what we will need in the future. We also need to decide about how we will be structuring our financials. Let's say what type of assets that you will have and how you will be affording them through a bank loan or through your savings. So we need to select the financial sources accordingly. For anything, let's assume that you are going to purchase a car. How you're going to make the payment? You're just going to make an agreement and give them some cash for some of them, and then make a credit line for you, or you're going to be just paying in cash, or you're going to be using your credit card, or you're going to apply for a bank loan. Whichever is less costly to you, you need to go for that option. Also, we are not only trying to actually satisfy our needs, we also need to save some money for future. We will be talking about saving versus investment. So we need to also decide about how we will be managing the cash flows. Cash flow might be the most important part of financial management, given that most of the small companies in today's world are getting closed because they have the lack of information about the cash flows. So there are some certain things we need to be very careful about when we talk about the cash flows. At the individual level, financial management should be based on how we will be managing our income. So, I put gain or income. So these are two different things. Income is the money, for example, if you're working on a salary. So this is the monthly income that you get. However, let's assume that you have a car that you purchased for $10,000 before, and now you're selling it for $11,000. That $1,000 difference will be your gain. And we will be also talking about the spending, so expenses that we have. Also, we need some saving, investment, health, and security. If you look at these bullets, simply this is how we will be splitting the outstanding cash that we have into some different for some different objectives. There are simply two things that we should never forget about. The money that we plan to earn tomorrow is not our money yet, so we should not count on it. Even though it is 99% for sure, you need to make the plan when it comes, or you can of course make the plans, but you should not take an attempt yet. On the other side, just unlike the money that you will be earning tomorrow, the debts that due tomorrow will come shortly, and it is certainly coming. So we need to be ready for any outstanding debts. We need to improve our cash management to fulfill the requirements for future. And in the next part, we will talk about the basics of financial literacy. So we have some expectation from the financial literate people. Some minimum information should be understood by all of the individuals. We will talk about the inflation and also the interest, and also some misperceptions about them, inflation and the interest, because usually people have some assumptions about how these inflation and interest rates are applying. And then we will discuss about the 5 basic profiles in terms of financial information, attitudes, and financial behavior. Depending on which one is closest to you, You need to make sure that you're managing it according to your life facts. Thanks for participating, and I will see you in the next part.